Thanks for joining us. So we begin here in Lagos, where the newly elected Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mojisola Meranda, has announced names of the new principal officers of the 10th Assembly. The announcement of the new principal officers was done at the first plenary she presided over today, and that's days after she was sworn in as the first female Speaker of the House. Mrs. Meranda says she feels honored to lead the legislature, pledging to carry out her duty with diligence and commitment to the people of the state. She says the House will not dwell on past controversies, but focus on moving the state forward while ensuring that every citizen of the state is valued, respected and empowered. Mojisola Meranda became Speaker on Monday after about 90% of the House voted to remove Mudashiru Obasa. Today's plenary is coming days after she met with the Governor's Advisory Council at the Lagos House Marina, where she updated them on recent developments and received their blessings. Today's meeting, Tuesday's meeting, though brief, was the Speaker's first public appearance after she assumed office. And correspondent Abibola Agbebi joins me from the Lagos State Assembly complex. Bimbo, what more can you tell us at this moment? We know that the former Speaker was removed by 90% of the Assembly. What is the mood, at the Assembly? What was the mood at the Assembly?
All right, let me start from what I observed this morning, Precious. Of course, today's plenary session was scheduled to kick off at 11 a.m. and one of the first things I observed was the bell started ringing at exactly 10:37 a.m. and that's the call to lawmakers to come into the chamber for the plenary to begin. Now, that has not happened in a long while. And if you recall, talking about part of the reasons why the former Speaker of the House, Right Honourable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa, was impeached, there was this issue of lateness to sittings. And for the first time in a long while, the bell rang exactly 10:37 a.m. and we saw lawmakers moving into the chamber. Shortly after that, I saw the newly elected Speaker, Right Honourable Mojisola Lasbat Meranda, also walking into the chamber, and exactly 10 minutes past 11, the plenary session kicked off. Yes, and that was, of course, the first thing we observed this morning. Precious.
And I was asking, is there a sense of unity? Because I mentioned earlier that 90%, and you have also reported that 90% of the lawmakers voted out the former Speaker, which means that about 10% did not vote, in her favor. And so, is there a sense of, unity amongst the Speaker, or do you see any kind of division because of what has happened?
Of course, another thing I observed on the floor of the House, you will recall during the impeachment, 33 members were on the floor of the House, while 32, of course, supported the impeachment. Earlier during the sitting, one of the lawmakers, Lukman Olumo, also said he would like to also majority leader during the time of Right Honourable Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa. We have the Chief Whip of the House, of course, Honourable Sentonji David, who during the time of Right Honourable Mudashiru Obasa was the Deputy Chief Whip, but of course he's been up, he has just been made the Chief Whip of the House, and we have Honourable Abdul Ganiu Sanni, who is now the Deputy Chief Whip of the House. And of course, the Deputy Speaker, we all know, is Honourable Mojid, who of course will be working side by side with the Speaker of the House. So another interesting thing I would like to tell you, Precious, is that when I walked in this morning, the very first thing I noticed was there are some barricaded areas in the House of Assembly where persons who walk into the Assembly for the first time had to travel miles from the gates, and those were the new things, put in place by the former Speaker of the House. They will have to walk long distances before they could get to the Assembly. And I noticed that when I walked in, I was being told that, oh no, you don't have to travel miles, you can actually come in through this place, which was what we existed, long before those things were put in place by the former Speaker of the House. Also, shortly after the plenary, I saw the Speaker of the newly elected Speaker, taking a tour of the premises. So I see the newly elected Speaker trying to bring in new things. Of course, that's, for me, is our own approach, new approach she's bringing in, trying to see what what are the complaints people are making, and how she can make things maybe easier for the people in here. So we can only wish her well, Precious.
Absolutely.
Of course, if you look at the track record of the present Speaker of the House, who of course was, elected into office in 2015, for the first time. And if you look at the various positions of authorities and leadership she has occupied, from the Chairman House Committee on Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation down to the Chairman House Committee on Establishment, Training, Pensions and Public Service. And then, of course, she went on to become the Deputy Chief Whip of the House, and then later she became the Deputy Speaker of the House, and now she is the Speaker of the House. Yes, one would say that
absolutely,
being in the saddle may be a different ballgame entirely as the Speaker of the House, but then we expect that...
she's not new to the terrain, but a lot is expected from her, especially on how development will trickle down in terms of laws that will be made at the Assembly. Thank you so much for that update, correspondent Abimbola will be live for us in Lagos State.